Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report. Game night. Undead versus Trident Realm. 2150 points. The scenario was loot. I have had an undead army for a long time. The issue is that at some point during one of my moves, the army was dropped and just literally just jumbled into a pile of bits. So it's taken me a while to kind of put it back together to get it up to at least so it looks presentable on the desktop again, tabletop I mean. So this is what my army list is, and it's mostly the models I have. So 2 hordes of skeletons, 2 regiments of ghouls, 2 regiments of zombies, a horde of wights, 1 regiment of Soul Reaver infantry with Hans, 1 regiment of Soul Reaver cavalry with the Mace of Crushing. Now, looking back, if I would make a minor change to the list, I would have just given one of them Strider instead of splitting those two magic items. The vampire on a Pegasus with the blade of slashing, a necromancer with the shroud and heal, a vampire on undead dragon with surge 8, an ASB with loot for a total of 13 drops and 27 unit strength. This is the first time deploying my undead army, so forgive me if I've made any mistakes. I made a flying flank over here and also with the cavalry. I have the dragon. I also have a unit of wights. The dragon on the, a vampire on the Pegasus. Then my Soul Reaver cavalry. Then the Soul Reaver infantry, and they're sheltered by a regiment of zombies and a regiment of ghouls. That was kind of a mistake. I shouldn't have had the zombies in front of them because of their shambling. But again, learning some lessons. Right in the middle, I had 2 hordes of skeletons. Over on the right side, I had another regiment of zombies and a unit of ghouls over there as well. Across the table, opposing the flying wing, are Ector, a Knucker, and the Coral Giant. Next to them is a unit of placoderms, a troop, I think, of placoderms, and behind them a unit of depth horrors, and then 2 troops of Thule, and behind them were 2 more hordes of depth horrors. On the far flank, on the left, was a horde of Gigas, and finally over there, along with the Gigas, was a Mythican. There was a Death Horror Eternals intermixed with the units, and I'm having a hard time seeing them on the picture, but there were 2 Knuckers and I think 3 Depth Horror Eternals. I might be wrong, it may just be 2, but yeah, those guys are potent. The Knucker, actually, I can see it. It's in between the Thules and the Thule and the placoderms, I think. So anyway, strong army. Have to see what I can do about it. You can see that the Trident Realm just moved straight forward. I think the Mythican got in range to throw a lightning bolt at my ghouls and did a couple points of damage over there, but that was pretty much it for turn 1, just a straight out advance. On my turn 1, I moved the dragon up 20 inches and then turned it to the right to face the flank of his army. The wights moved forward along with the vampire on Pegasus. Soul Reaver cavalry moved up just a little ahead, maybe to catch a unit out of position. The rest of the line, because of shambling and stuff like that, just moved forward in a straight line just to try to get in range of those, 3 loot markers that are in there. I think the move over here is pretty strong. The problem I have is the wights are just really not having nimble and stuff and shambling. I mean, that's good and bad, but for wights, I'm just not. I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to use that unit. I should have just put them more central and just used them as part of my battle line instead of trying to use them as flankers, because they just don't have the speed of the vampire or the dragon to do that. And for the points, I could have actually had a second dragon, one not as potent of a dragon, but yet it's a dragon with a lot of swings. So I'm thinking about that next time, maybe to go ahead and take another, but take this dragon with a revenant on it, not the dragon with the vampire on it. On Trident Realm turn 2, he just bent his line a little bit to handle my fast-moving flyers. I think in retrospect, I probably should have, like I said, been more aggressive with my vampire on Pegasus as well as the whites. I probably could have even surged the whites, if I'd thought about it and got them up there a little closer. So, a little mistake. The Thule come up on the ridge and the middle ridge and take one of the tokens. Over on the other side, one of his other Thule troop take the middle token, and then his Gigas are very close to taking the third token that's over there. And I don't really have very much firepower over there since that's mostly just my line infantry. So it's going to be a tough fight. I really need to get around and flank this line very quickly and start trying to roll up and try to get some of those chips. On my turn two, I just did a general charge all the way across the board. There was no reason to hold back. I mean, so what? You hit on a 6, you hit on a 5. You're not going to hurt them anyway. So I went ahead and just charged everything. Over on the right side, I thought I did pretty well because my ghouls rolled 3 for their wild charge and charged into the Mythican. And I held him up pretty much the entire game after that. The zombies charged the Gigas. That's going to go well. One of the skeleton hordes charged a unit of Thule. I think the other skeleton hordes charged, I think, the placoderms that time. And up on the hill, one of the ghouls managed to charge into the unit of Thule that had the chip up there. And over on this side, left side here, I just could not decide whether I wanted to maintain the attack, going across the board. I wasn't as comfortable with what I could do. I mean, I could do all sorts of single charges, but I couldn't make any devastating charges and the whites are so out of position that they're a joke. So so I did actually backed up the Soul Reaver cavalry not to get charged by the giant, which was a mistake. I mean, actually, despite that guy's, I should have a pretty good chance of killing a giant, even that, because he's hitting on 4s. That's always a crapshoot. I mean, that could be 11, 12 hits, but it also could be 3 or 4. So that was a mistake. I probably should just let just move the Soul Reaver cav up there and just let them get charged by the giant. But I thought the giant and the knucker might have been a little much to try to suck up. So that's what happened over on this flank. I don't really think I did. I think I did some waivers on his Thule all the way across. So really strange. But the ghouls did manage to do 1 wound to keep his Mythican from throwing any spells. So in Sean's turn, it's really just about adding stuff and countercharging. He added a Depth Horror Eternal in the battle against the Thule in the very middle to have the token, and then another Depth Horror Eternal added in to help out the placoderms. Everything else was jammed up behind the army, just like I was jammed up over here, and really just comes down to a grind fight. The ghouls hang with that Mythican, to the very last turn of the game. So that was a really, really tense battle back and forth. And I think I wavered him a couple of times, which is why it lasted so long. But I was really impressed with the ghouls. I've used ghouls in my Abyssal army, but they're totally different than these ghouls. I know I kept almost getting their stats messed up in my head. But those things are a great value for the points. I really, really, really like them. I'm almost thinking about scrounging through the box and see if I could find another 12 to make yet another regiment of them. You can see here that the damage is starting to accumulate. I have to say that I really think that in a game like this where there's no missile fire, stuff like that, there's really no reason for those depth horrors to be behind. They should have just been straight in. They could have blown right through those 2 units like they were nothing. So having them behind like that, all it did was, that's a nice reserve, don't get me wrong, but they could have easily, a double charge into that horde of skeletons would have killed them in one go, without a doubt in my mind. So having the chaff forward, so basically it does become almost a chaff fight. And you say, well, that's a full red. Yeah, it's a 140 point horde. It's not like a real horde standing there fighting them, and just the fact that even the zombies were able to hold up that horde of gigas over there was kind of impressive to me. So, like I said, it might have been better to have the depth horse forward and just blown right through units instead of back there in reserve. I just could not decide to do what was over on this flank, and I think my vacillation really hurt me. What I did do absolutely, though, was to charge the wraiths into the flank of the Thule on the hill and kill them, and because that was going to free up 2 regiments of mine to do other things. I realized that the wraiths were going to die, but a guy could hope. But I was going to catch two hordes of depth horrors, and that was probably not going to be good. I did manage to freeze the giant with my icy breath, or whatever it's called. And over on the rest of the side, I just managed to inflict some wounds back on some of his units. I mean, I was actually doing more wounds than I thought I could possibly do. The placoderms are just wrong. A freaking armor 6 troop. I think I'm going to have to actually do the same thing and put some wraiths in my army to do exactly the same job, just to hold up stuff forever. Over on the left flank, my poor whites got triple charged by everything. 2 hordes of depth horrors and a knucker. The giant went ahead and charged my unit of Soul Reaver Knights, and I should have just let them happen a long time ago, because the Soul Reaver Knights, I mean, they're hitty enough, and plus I could flank it with either the dragon or the Pegasus, and just killed it right out of hand. And so my vacillation over there probably cost me here. That probably cost me that unit of wraiths for damn sure. So anyhow, the Soul Reaver Knights actually held up fairly well. Of course, the wraiths bit it. I mean, my God, what a number of attacks! They're good, but they're not that good. So anyhow, they did hold out against the they did not hold out against the massive charge that he took into my guys. This is after the fight. You can see that the Depth Horror Eternal overhead ran up. That blank base is my ghouls. They just would not set on the edge of that thing. So I just put a blank base up there for them. One of the things I might actually do in one of my next games is just to trace the bottom of those hills. And if I get into a situation, just be able to replace them with a piece of cardboard or something. I know it doesn't look as pretty, but it is hard sometimes to balance especially those metal ghouls, to balance them on the side of a hill like that. The Coral Giant, only inflicted 3 wounds on my knights, and that's despite rolling a 5 for his number of extra swings. I guess here my problem is I've pinned my Soul Reaver infantry, who are so good. I mean, they could take those units of depth horrors. I'm not saying that they would just totally destroy them, but I mean, if they get in there, they can actually put a hurt on them. And I'm just shocked at how well my skeletons and stuff and zombies are holding up on the table against such top-notch units. My units here are so inferior. They are starting to take damage, of course, like crazy, as they should. The unit of ghouls, they were up to a lot of damage, but he did not roll well and just wavered them instead of killed them. So the battle between the Mythican and the ghouls is still going on. His Gigas basically got the zombies up to 14 out of a possible 15, and then he rolled Snake Eyes, which was good for me. It's going to keep that fight going just a little bit longer. In the very middle, those guys are up to 12. They are getting hurt it's a Depth Horror Eternal and a unit of Depth Horrors. But I think the Depth Horrors had charged in this turn and they were hindered, so they didn't do as much damage as they probably should. The other skeleton unit is holding out against the placoderms and the other Depth Horror Eternal. So again, I mean, I've got basically no points right there, holding up his whole army. So I was not unhappy, let's say, about how this was going, because I just expected him to blow straight through him. And I think if he would have put the Depth Horrors in the front, he would have blown straight through him. But I don't know what that effect would have been on the rest of the game. But I was pretty joyous right here at all these goings on. So the dragon went in and just bitch slapped the Coral Giant all over the place with his mighty abilities. I had to sacrifice the Pegasus, Winged Pegasus vampire to make sure that this would go off. the zombies charged the other depth horrors in the front, and of course you see the figures fell down as they came off the top of that stupid hill. Uh, I'll have to put some blue tack on the bottom of it, but I think I'm low in my blue tack supply, so I guess I'll have to go to the store and get some more to keep them from doing that again. But yeah, so I've got a massive attack over here, and I got that pesky coral giant out of the way, and ready to proceed on because now the dragon is unleashed. Should have been unleashed a while back, but still learning. I just cannot figure out a way to get my Soul Reaver infantry into the fight. I'm so jammed up over here on this flank with all these troops and stuff. I mean, it's the same thing that Sean is experiencing. It's just the being so jammed up right against this terrain and stuff. So next time I think I'll make sure I will put them on a smaller base because maybe I wasn't taking advantage of the stuff. They're on my old GW base because I went with full model count on because I think it looks good. But I think I will put them back down to a regular size regiment base next time and just see if it opens up some opportunities a little bit more. I think I did actually just go. I'm showing them right there, but I think they're actually on the hill and grabbed that token and was backing back down with it. So I was ready to concede the game in turn 5 just because of how stuff was going. The what got me in this one was that is I had the Mythicin down to where I think I could do it, but then the dice. I'm not going to bitch about dice. I mean, the fact that my ghouls had stayed there the whole game fighting that Mythicin, excuse me, was just I was so happy with it. But I had a chance to kill him. And I think I did kill him on the first dice, but his reroll kept him alive because all I would have had to do then, if I killed him, is just back up onto that chip. Now that I think about it, probably all I needed to do was backed up on it anyway instead of and just took my chances that the Mythicin couldn't kill me in return. So yeah, kind of a double mistake. But I really wanted to kill him and then just back onto that chip. But I mean, I had a lot of swings and stuff, so I thought I could do it. Oh well, I mean. It's starting to get late and then stuff like that, mistakes start to happen. So now all he has to do with his gigas is just literally crab walk sideways and pick up that objective. So good for him. In the middle, the depth horrors have the other objective in the middle. So now I'm down 2. I've got 1. Let's see if I can do anything at all to pull this together. So yeah, on turn 6, I have busted through and got rid of all the depth horrors over here with the Soul Reaver Cav, and believe it or not, a unit of ghouls that got the. I think he actually killed the Knucker that was there. You know what a Knucker? I mean, Depth Horror Eternal. Yeah, the poor dragon guy ends up fighting Ector and a Knucker, and eventually dies. But it's irrelevant to the game. I keep telling myself that I just got to keep thinking in my mind that yeah, they're over there fighting, but that means Ector's not over here pushing somebody around with wind blast away from objectives and things like that and messing stuff up. So here I am. This is the bottom of my bottom of 6. I have to see if there's a turn 7, and there is. As much as my army's taking a pounding, his is taking a pounding as well. This is the very last thing before the last turn, so I had a chance here, charging the ghouls and the Soul Reaver infantry into that last unit of depth horrors that had the chip. So what ends up happening is I end up making a, you know what, it's probably not a hindered charge if I would have charged them at the same time. But anyway, I called it both hindered charge. And went in there, did a significant amount of wounds, but just could not roll. I needed an 11, honestly. I mean, I tried to call it, but you know, the dice gods did not like my call of needing an 11 to get rid of those depth horrors. And so Sean wins the game 2-1, and very well fought game on both sides. I was astounded it was as close as it is since I wanted to quit. So I mean, really, you think about it, I had 2 chances, one with the Mythicin and one with this unit here to win the game, and the dice didn't cooperate, but that doesn't mean that it was not fun, and it was just an amazingly good game. What a fantastic game. I was ready to concede in turn 5 and damn near came back and won. So uh, just shows you should never give up. That's one of the things. I mean, I was getting dejected, but then I said, hey, yeah, let's play it out. We never know what could happen. I mean, that did mean I'd lose my dragon, but I really didn't care. It made no difference in the game. The uh, the thing about my undead army, in retrospect, maybe the whites aren't such a good idea, but I think I'll try them again before just totally dismissing them from the list. I think it maybe if I would have deployed the whites like over on the right hand side to support those guys over there, and just had the dragon and the undead Pegasus over here on the left, that would have been a better choice. If nothing else, the whites are just better at fighting, and they could have been in the battle line itself, to do some of the grinding. And because I mean, they would have had a decent chance against the Gigas that were over there. I'm not saying they would have won, but they could have inflicted some damage to them. So that was kind of a mistake. But first time I've played the army. The other thing I didn't do is I forgot life leech the entire damn game. I didn't use it even a single time, and I'm sure that would have helped me in some of the melees. Just the inexperience of playing another army, and I'll remember it next game, or I'll write myself a gigantic note that says "Remember Life Leech" and stick it on my forehead so that I don't forget. So anyway, it was an amazing game. Sean was having to deal with all the flyers I had, so he kind of set up in a box in the middle. And like I said, if I would have split something off to the other side, I don't know what he would have done. So I just didn't want to get over there and get stuck in with those stupid Gigas and take the whole game to kill them, since they're armor 6, and they also have such an effective attack. They could have easily killed my dragon or or anything I threw over there against them. But the things that fought them were actually the best things, which are just junk. I mean, yeah, they do this, but the Gigas, they have 12 swings, and sure they do whatever, but I mean it lets even those crappy units can hold out at least one turn, sometimes 2 turns against them, or 2 turns if somebody rolls snake eyes to make your game make you have a happy face. So anyway, that's the thing that's over there. Just want to say that the Trident Realm army is insanely powerful. Their bad choices would be like #1 choices in most people's army, and that's just they're just sick. They're sick. They're so good. I'm not saying the undead aren't sick. They're so good, but they definitely the Trident realms, they're blessed with everything. I mean, the only thing I think that they're maybe susceptible to is the flyers. So that's part of my strategy, is to make sure I have flyers. And I think if I would have had just a modicum of shooting, I would have probably just helped just a little bit to chip a few wounds off of things before. Because my troops are the line troops, so to speak. The ghouls, the zombies, and the skeletons are inept. So if I would have just had like something to do 1 or 2 wounds before they got there, that may have helped me be able to hold just a little bit longer, or maybe get them potentially waver them. I was able to waver all the Thule and get rid of them during the game, which I was amazed by. But anyway, it was just a great game. I have to admit, it was a great game, and well played by Sean. He was trying everything he could not to get dragoned over here on this flank, and I think my inexperience shows with my list, since it was the very first time I played it. But I'll get better. I mean, it's just a learning lesson. And last time I played with flyers, Ben pointed out that what I did, I had concentrated all my flyers in one spot. What I should do is actually, I know it sounds stupid, but to spread them out. And the reason why is because it gives you some vectors that, like if they're turning to face the dragon, they might open their flank to the Pegasus. If they're turning to face the Pegasus, they may open the flank to a surge charge from the whites. So I think it's important to split them up like that, just to challenge the other player. But they're all 3 in one spot. He just does what he did to me, which is jam me up, even though I am way faster than him. And I probably should have took the dragon. When I got there to its flank, I shouldn't even have turned it. I should have just went straight forward and went another 20 inches and turned it. And that way I could threaten the back of his army a little better. So that I don't use flyers a lot in the past. As a matter of fact, I didn't use them at all. So I just need to get good with the flyers, and I think I've been patient with them. now for a couple of games that I've used a lot of flyers, but I think I need to finally to break out and get into the zone with them and understand what I need to do. Because I mean, I think if I didn't really do anything with them turn 3 or 4 anyway. If I would have used 2 turns to maneuver with them, I would have been in great position. I mean, his whole army would have had to bend to handle that dragon and the Pegasus both. So next time, I'll get him next time, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see when we can play again and document it like this. But I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed the game very much. I'm even enjoying the battle report because we had so much fun during the game. Take care, everybody, and thank you for watching.